Welcome back, warriors and vagabonds, to another episode of the Conan Exiles solo survival series. I just woke from a long slumber, comatose and estranged by the spinning of the room, as if I had been asleep for days or maybe even weeks. That's the last time I challenged the local brigands to another game of drink with Stygian blood wine. Tasted more like that swill that I drank before I was hauled off to these cursed lands. The story's less important and not that exciting. What I need to do right now is prepare myself for the labors that the day will bring me. First things first, I need to gear up and prepare my concoctions and stimulants. Only the basics are necessary. After that, I need to do my rounds and check the Taskmaster's progress. Let's get moving before the day escapes us. When I arrived at the breaking facility, it was already dawn. I spake to the taskmaster to see if he wanted anything in particular to eat or quench his thirst. If you were not with us in the last episode, or maybe you forgot due to our long absence, I instructed him to break in 2 terrors in my stead, a harlot who'd sooner turn you into a toad and eat you, if not flay off your flesh and wear it like a negligee to the next feasting ceremony, and a marauding slaver who most wanted dead for the atrocities he committed in his past life. Obviously, the taskmaster was not happy about it. He looked physically exhausted and wild-eyed. I decided to give him some actual food and grab anyone who already started flying our banner and bring them home. He steadily moved his eyes towards mine, and I could see the hues of red that were coating the outside of his retinas and his pupils. I realized immediately he was not himself. I asked if he was okay, and he started speaking in a dead, archaic language, more archaic than usual even for a Stygian who's been drugged up and prepped for a good Darketo's feasting. I simply nodded and acknowledged that he answered me. I think that witch did something to his mind, but he was still breaking her in, and she was still bound in chains, so I didn't question it any further. Even Tarkin seemed a bit riled up as well. Obviously, being put on a wheel with nothing but flaxseed gruel being shoved down your supple throat will do that to you. I know this from my own experience being a prisoner of war, but this was different. All I knew was that that witch had done something to them, and I decided to hurry up and leave. I need not linger there any longer than need be. I felt like a dagger might be cutting out my heart and placed on the shrine above me if I lingered longer than necessary. I only used that shrine out of necessity, not practice. I was not going to be sent to Set's realm in a handbasket. None of Crom's children would ever want that fate. So I left and headed home. On my way back to base, I had seen a poorly positioned elevator a few clicks from there. I decided I would investigate its origins later. I wasn't in the mood to keep up appearances with any new neighbors, nor did I want to be followed home either. I need to focus on the task at hand and prepare the second raid on the Warmaker's tomb. The loot there will be incalculable, and anything there will give me a stronger means of defending myself against the warring tribesmen when I come across them.
Okay, so today we're gonna go back to the Warmaker dungeon and finish that up. So I need to go ahead and learn the recipes, and then I'm gonna move on from there. I could make some healing arrows. Probably should, just in case, you never know. I also need to work on getting my hands on star metal. The last time I tried, it didn't go well. But hopefully, this time will be a little bit different. So yeah, I definitely have to kill all the bosses now. I guess I'll skip old Blue Boy and get a move on. I already got the Axe of the Gate Guardian, I don't need it.
I'm swords and
Dance for me now.
I have tasted death. Let me shift. Where your gods die in war.
No chance, mate.
Your kind,
I was hoping I get the seeds, but it's fine.
blood and dust. Human.
Where are you going? Go fight him.
Dance for me now, or swing for me now, or swing for me later. Pokey pokey, mate.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Hammer. Guess I'll just throw that in the wheel now.
I have tasted death, mortal. Let me share it. Diablos, away.
No chance, mate. Watch your flanks. Me and the mates are thick as thieves. Dance for me now, or swing for me later. You've no chance, mate.
Tasted death, mortal. Let me share it. Blood and dust,
Pokey, mate.
human.
Watch your flanks. Me and the mates are thick as thieves. Pokey, mate.
Your kind, always
Pokey, mate.
pestilence. The abyss
Oh, nice.
waits.
I can be a loser now.
After slaying the serpent priests, I took their idols and returned them to the intersecting room where I unlocked the door, leading deeper into the dungeon. These are strange mechanisms even for a godless land such as this. Cursed objects of immense power. Creatures that I've heard stories about since I was knee-high. Fabled artifacts that only exist in wives' tales. What the hell is this place? And how the hell did I end up here? I was hoping that being one of the king's legendary regalia, I would live a somewhat peaceful life, with the obvious exception of war times when I would be called to take up arms against our neighbors far to the northwestern front from my homeland. What's the regalia, you ask? I guess I'll start back at the beginning. Before the times when the oceans drank Atlantis, my people were known as the Regatta. We were nomads with no home to call our own. We weren't docile sheep, though. We were adamant on martial training due to protecting ourselves in the harsh environment of the diaspora. The blade was a sign of expression for my people, but we weren't brutes and only drew our swords when absolutely necessary. My people are skilled artisans, engineers, and practitioners of the holistic arts. We are also singers and storytellers, bards, poets, and scholars. We are known to be stoic philosophers, and the shrewdest of merchants. We weren't particularly the nicest of people, though. We may have been known to give people a raw deal here and there, but we always kept track of who we would ally with, whom to keep tabs on, and where we would finally lay the groundwork for our future kingdom. When we finally did settle one place, we were constantly bombarded by brigands and warrior monks looking to steal our treasures and take what little land we had. From the stories I was told as a child, our kingdom was besieged and almost destroyed entirely by our neighboring tribe of beastmen. They were closer to monsters than people, almost goblin-like in appearance, but they were massive in stature. They had brutish strength that could kill a man with one swing. All seemed lost in our 7 years' war with the goblins, until an unknown warrior of our people rose to fight them with 8 shining blades. He slew all of these goblin marauders single-handedly, hundreds of them. This warrior's martial prowess dazzled the combatants and captured the hearts of our kingdom's greatest warriors. This put him in a position of power, and eventually he gained the title of Sword King. He was what we referred to as a sword saint, the first and only of his kind. There would not be another for over 1,000 years, and none exist today, as far as I know. He was unmatched in martial combat, as well as being a master strategist. He carried 8 blades, which were said in the ancient text to be forged out of his own soul, if you can believe it. He would go on to unite the Black Kingdoms and drive the invaders out of our borders. He was the greatest sword master at the time, and before his death, he would found a ruling body known as the Natatambu ruling class. This will later be changed to the Regalia due to social, political, and economical changes in the diaspora. The Regalia was an order of fabled sword masters that protected the borders of the Black Kingdoms for generations. Originally, we were referred to as the Natatambu ruling class, but as our customs changed, so did our roles in society. We were not rulers, but governors, and we were the law in our king's stead. We served as military generals in times of war under our Grand Marshal known only as the Sword Bearer, nearly equal in rank to our king, but they served primarily as a spiritual representative. I say spiritual representative because he was more or less our spiritual leader and communed with Our Lady Derketo in times of great need. I'd rather not get into those complexities and politics. More importantly, as a Regalia, you were either handpicked or you were born into this role. Handpicked candidates are a tricky subject and require a lot of political backing and high economic standing. In my case, I was born into this role and started my training the day I was born. Without boring you with all the details for simplicity's sake, those that are born into the Regalia are named after an ancient weapon used by the fabled Sword King, who defended our lands long ago. I was named Fleeca at birth, and later on down the line I was ordained with the title the Flawless Blade, honoring the king's steadfastness and cunning in battle. But the title holds little weight now, though. I'm humbly Fleeca the Vagabond, just another exiled in these cursed lands. Let's get back to the present.
I'm learning the recipe first because I'm a goober. Okay, that's really what I came for. This guy's irrelevant. Alright, kill him.
Dance for me now or swing for me later. Chance, mate. Dance for me now or swing for me later.
Thanks, Famalama. So that's the exit. I guess I'll go through this door, pick this up, and then head the hell out of here. I might kill maybe 1 or 2 more bosses on the way out, and that's gonna be it. Already got 1 Yog's Touch. I'll probably rarely use it. It's not my favorite weapon. Let's see. Yeah, I wanna kill one or two more bosses, head home, and then I'll log out, and then I'll go check on the thralls, and that's probably all I'm gonna do today. I got a busy day today. I'll probably work on getting some berserkers after I get all this stuff done.
As I was nearing home, I decided to swing by the breaking facility. Thinking about that instantly reminded me of the ordeal that lies in wait before me. A potential rogue taskmaster along with 2 hostile combatants. This could get ugly. As I slowly crept up the steps of the breaking facility, I placed my hand upon the locking mechanism. I took a deep breath as I unlocked the door, and I turned the handle oh so gently, as not to alarm the potential combatants that lie in wait behind it. I signaled my companion with a hand gesture not to make a sound and be ready for anything. I was hesitant as I began to open the door, clutching the grip of my chilled blade, and as I suddenly swung the door open, I heard a familiar voice. Boss, the job's done," said the taskmaster in his usual frame of mind and appearing quite normal, as if nothing had happened at all. Using this opportunity to not awaken any lingering feelings of the potential curses that was beset upon him and the facility, I decided not to ask him did he remember anything earlier, and just told him good job. I gave him his usual proportions of dried meats and spirits with a little extra on the side, as well as giving him a bit of time off. Like I said before, slaves are a lot more docile when you treat them well. When I approached Tarkin and the witch, they appeared to be much more docile than they were when we first met. Their physiques appeared much more chiseled due to the constant exercise, as well as being mildly malnourished due to only eating the grains from the flax seeds. But I could rectify that. They appeared much hungry and much more willing to cooperate. I could tell by that look in their eyes. I know that look all too well. I was captured and placed on the wheel myself, you know. Only difference is this master won't be having his throat slit by his supposed servants anytime soon. Anyway, I commanded them to follow me, and I'd provide them with the necessary nourishment and resources to start their new lives. Basically, you follow my orders and you live somewhat happy indentured lives. You step out of line, you die quickly. Simple as that. I'd prefer not to rule by violence, but being soft-hearted at the wrong times is probably what got me here. Reluctantly, my monologue was persuasive enough to the point where they listened with no rebuttal and nodded in unison. I can use these 2 as long as they decide they want to listen to me. Now it's time to return home. I still have a lot of equipment to drop off as well as turning in for the night. So I bound them in chains again and passed them to my brigand companion Lou. I'm tired as all hell and my bed's calling my name. So then we began marching home under the moonlight. But before I turned in, I needed to organize the base again and appoint my new members to their stations. I was running through the highlands after a quick farming run, as well as capturing a new warrior companion. As I was running back towards my wheel, I noticed a large T1 compound as I was heading back to my territory. It was pretty massive, and potentially had some loot, but I'd rather not blow into sandstone. I do have standards, and I won't soil my reputation for a few shekels. As I was passing by the compound, I decided I would take a shortcut down the cliff nearest to the thrall wheel. Unfortunately, I misread the fall distance and I had to cling to the mountainside, which meant I had to cut my rope that kept the thrall bound in order to save my own life. After I secured my way down, I went to go look for him to rebind him, but it appears he escaped. Unfortunate, but I could always try again later. Thralls are always pretty easy to come by. Once I returned home, I plotted my next course of actions. I decided I needed to harvest some star metal to advance to the next stage, but first I needed to go collect Blackblood tools. The Blackblood Company was a conglomerate of artisans and weaponsmiths to the northeast of our continent, and their tools were beyond legendary. Only the wealthiest of merchants could acquire a full set for their workers. Usually it was kept for their best and most trustworthy of laborers, mainly non-indentured servants. Those tools were extremely valuable, and a commoner possessing them was very uncommon. Just the skinning knife set alone could cost a laborer's wage for a year. There were illicit fabrications as well. Back in one of the small towns that were my governance, had a few shady merchants trying to make a quick profit and scamming the masses. Unfortunately for them, the Blackblood Company is family owned, and I knew their representatives personally, and they had no tools commissioned for that town in particular. Let's just say that anyone caught selling them in that region with no authentic connection to the company isn't profiteering anymore. Or alive for that matter. Anyway, I had heard a few fables from a soothsayer that there were bat-like monsters guarding them in a cavern of caves to the north. It sounded to me like he was blowing smoke, so I called him on it. That was when he stood up and shambled towards the back of his hut and moved a bookcase revealing a secret room. While he was walking to the back of the room and moving oddities and boxes of supplies out of his path, he said, "I saw a dead gatherer in the ravine in the highlands clutching this. He was covered in black feathers and had beak-like protrusions sticking into his body. So instead of letting it waste there, I picked it up and brought it here, before anyone saw me." He pulled a brand new Blackblood pickaxe from off the shelf hidden away from prying eyes. I took a swig of the Stygian liquor he offered me and asked, "May I?" He nodded, then he placed the tool on the table in front of me. I took a moment to observe its craftsmanship, then I placed my hand on its grip and picked it up to observe it further. I could tell by its weight that it had been slightly modified. It was a few ounces off in weight, but its grip was pretty authentic. But so are forgeries. "I want to test it out," I replied, resting the tool on my shoulder. He obliged and we both walked outside, and I would search for a good note to strike nearby to test its authenticity. I found a solid iron node close to the hut. It was about 1 meter wide and 1 meter thick. This would be the ultimate test. I leveled the pick to determine my striking zone. I looked at the old man as he watched me preparing to strike. He watched unfazed, quietly smoking his pipe as if he knew what was already going to happen. I looked back at the node, raised the pick above my head, and in one smooth motion, I struck it true. "I know this feeling," is what I thought to myself, and with one strike of moderate force, I shattered the node to pieces. I said to myself, "This indeed is a Blackblood tool of the finest quality." I drew my gaze back towards him with a look of shock and disbelief. He nodded and said, "Yep." I asked him how much he wanted for it. Then he replied, "Heh, what good is coin gonna do me here?" I changed my question. "What do you want for it?" He inhaled the contents of his mahogany pipe and exhaled a plume of smoke while gazing towards the green wall. Then he replied in a somber tone, "The soul of an Ansai." "Ha!" I replied. Then I looked him in the eyes. I could tell he was only half serious. And tossed it back to him. "I'll get my own," I said, with a faint smirk. He caught the tool with both hands and lightly chuckled. I could have easily taken it from the old codger, but then who would I drink with? Savagery should be saved for your enemies, not withering old men. As I traversed the caverns and caves, I had acquired resources from the inhabitants, as well as anything that was left by the unfortunate souls that never made it back to their dwellings. But no sign of black blood tools yet. I would have to continue moving forward, and hopefully I would find what I'm looking for. Good thing I brought a soul spiel to shield me from the cold, and a companion to make this a lot easier.
No chance, mate. Dance for me now, or swing for me later.
That old man wasn't blowing smoke after all. Not one but two black blood tools were being guarded, and they were both mine for the taking. The craftsmanship was impeccable, and the counterbalance was perfection. Now it was time to head home and drop off most of my loot and prepare a journey to the west to see if any star metal had fallen. Hello warriors, this is Mars. It's been a long time since I've communicated in video format, and first and foremost, I would like to say to my veteran combatants, thank you for sticking with the channel as long as you have. There has been a lot of changes in my life, so to speak, and I felt it was necessary for me to separate from uploading videos for a time, but now I feel comfortable enough to return to editing and uploading again. Also, to my newer combatants, thank you for joining my merry band of hardened warriors. I hope you will find all the future content enjoyable as we move forward together. On another note, I want to talk about the step forward. I will be making a plethora of new videos, but you should expect to see a channel update in the future. I will do my best to go into detail about the direction I will be taking the content on the channel, but until then, I hope this will satiate you. I was very off and on with this video, and although it's not perfect, I enjoyed working in this format, and I will work on making the next one even better. I hope to see you all in the next one. Keep on slaying, warriors. Later.